Hi everyone, and welcome back to Herzography. In today's video I'm going to do a review on a ProMediaGear tripod. In full disclosure, they sent me this tripod as I requested. I wanted to do a review on their tripod because I have only used Really Right Stuff tripods in the past, and I was very interested to see the quality and the build quality of the ProMediaGear tripod. So the tripod they sent me is the TR343L. I've got a few notes here, so excuse me if I'm just looking down every once in a while. I want to make sure I get the specs correct on there. As I said, I've only used Really Right Stuff tripods in the past for my professional landscape photography, and very interested in the ProMediaGear and what they have to offer. So the tripod that I had ProMediaGear send me was one with the leveling base, as you can see. For landscape photography, I prefer having a leveling base. I do not believe in the weight and the issues you can have with a center column. I like to be able to extend a leg out and go all the way to the ground real fast, which you can't do if you have a center column without taking out the column and lots of other things that you have to do. I'm just not that patient, and I don't really feel the need. If I need to go a little higher, sure, I'll just extend the legs a bit. So that's why none of my tripods, except for the one that I'm using right now to film on, has a center column. A center column is great for when I used to do event photography and portraits and weddings and such, but not for landscapes. So in this tripod, this has 4 sections, and you can tell right away because there are 3 knobs here. So this is section number 1 always, and then you have 2, 3, and 4. And when these extend out, well, they extend out pretty far because this has a height of 59 inches, which is great. When I go to measure a tripod on what's going to be good for me, I take a look at the height of the tripod and the height of the camera and the tripod head and how much extra space or room, dimension, that adds to the top of the tripod. And then I take a look and say, okay, what happens if I am standing near a cliff and I need to extend the front leg down? So I probably need another couple of feet added on, and that's how I kind of judge what is going to be a good height for me. Not how tall you are or how tall the tripod is, but a number of other factors that I think are necessary for when you're deciding what's going to be good as a landscape photographer. Now, with a 4 series tripod, one of the things you're going to see is that as you're looking at different specs, they're usually going to be, not always, but they're usually going to be a little bit shorter in length when they're totally collapsed. So this has a length of 20.8 inches. If you were to do a tripod that was only 3 sections instead of 4, but still had the same height as a maximum height, then the length of the tubes are going to be a little bit longer to be able to give you that same height. Now, one of the things that I found different, a main difference that I found with the ProMediaGear tripod, is that this for adjusting which angle you want to set your tripod leg on stays all the way out until you push it in. So is that an advantage or not? See how that does not go into snapping in position, which is what happens on Really Right Stuff, which is kind of what I'm used to. Now, it's a pro and a con, and let me tell you why. I've had many cases where I'm out in the field and I am needing to change the angle. So I go like this and I say, well, and then it goes click and it's snapped in. I say, no, I need to go back out again. Well, I can't do that without coming here to lift it back up, to bring it back all the way to the top, to start to engage that, that little clamp that automatically goes down. So I'm getting used to this method of saying, yeah, this is how far out I need to be, and okay, is that going to be here or the other one? And it's just a different, like I said, pro or con, I'm not sure which one it is. It's just something that you get used to in whichever tripod you decide to go with. All right, so here's a really nice feature that ProMediaGear has integrated into their tripod. So you're out in the field and all of a sudden you come across an area where you need a little bit of extra grip on your feet. Well, most of the time we would unscrew the rubber foot and I would have extra feet of some type, like some spikes in my bag. But now there is a spike that they have added to the inside of the foot that you just screw in to the bottom of the rubber foot and then thread that back in, and now all of a sudden it is great. Now I've got a spike right here on the bottom of this leg. There's one in each of them, so depending upon what my needs are, I can just go ahead and have a spike real easy and don't have to worry about losing it, because afterwards when I'm all done, I can just take this and thread it very easily right back into the rubber foot, and it just stays inside, protected, and out of the way inside the foot. So that is a really nice feature that this tripod incorporates, and it comes with which is really nice. One of the things that I found, and let me just come back here a little bit, is that these legs, and you can have it. There's usually a piece of tape on each one of these threads that has been taken off on the inside. And one of the things I really like is now when I unlock, you can see it just snaps right into place. Other tripods that I've used, you know, you undo them and they kind of go like this, and then you have to pull each one down to get it into place. And is that a big deal? Well, it's not so much a big deal as it can be a hassle, as opposed to going like this and locking it. It makes the process much faster when you're the setup much faster when you're in the field, to just unlock, it's down, and then go to the next leg and it's down. I just find that to be a very, once again, a nice feature. These quarter turn locks, they're just very easy. So I'm, very easy to just turn, and it's locked. You don't have to worry about that it's going to be loose at all. And because it is very secure. I'm not sure what they use on here, but just that little corner turn just really locks it very tightly in place without having to really crank down like I've had to with other tripods. You'll notice that there is a huge spirit level here on the apex. It's really nice. It's nice that it has a screw and can come off, because I never use this. I don't use this one. It's very nice that it comes with it, because I use this one. I use the one that comes on the level. Because you'll see, there we go, that when I go to do the level on here, I'm going to use this spirit level here to make sure that I'm level, not the other one. And so, but once again, a nice big spirit level, not in the center. I know I've seen some where the spirit level's in the center, which is to me useless, because you're going to want it sticking out here so you can see it when your camera is on the top. Okay, let's take a look at some other features here. So I've gathered a few accessories, and I've done that because, wow, look at that, a 3/8 here and a 1/4-20 here. Some tripod manufacturers just give you a 1/4-20. This is the first one that I've seen that does a 3/8. And 3/8 can be very nice. It allows you to have that option. If you don't want to use a 3/8, then put a 3/8 1/4-20 thread in there to have another 1/4-20, but at least it gives you the option of having that. You know, I have felt that, you know, I can take something like this, you know, and mount, you know, perhaps a phone mount onto the side. I have other gear, like maybe a little small reg arm that can go here to hold other devices. Here are some things from, this is from Platypod, you know, to screw this in if I need some extra little bit of light coming off to the side, if I'm doing some macro photography. So once again, a lot of really cool options and accessories that can be added on with these extra threads in here. Haven't really seen a lot of manufacturers do that. Not sure why, but I think it's just a really nice touch to add that into the manufacturing process. Some other specs about the tripod, and you can read about all these. You know, it weighs 4 pounds, very similar to other tripods of this size. It has a 10-layer carbon fiber legs. Of course, as I mentioned before, the rubber feet with the built-in metal spikes, aircraft grade aluminum. Really nice option for no additional charge. If you want to be a little different, you can get the apex in red aircraft aluminum instead of black. So I don't know, I've thought about that. I think that would be a really nice touch to kind of show, you know, this is my tripod, and be able to see it from a distance. I'm not sure why it has to be all black, but I think having the red apex might be a nice change. And of course, this tripod is made in the USA, so you don't have to worry about any annoying tariffs that will raise the price just for the sake of tariffs. So the one thing that I will show you, of course, is that when you're putting on your head, and right now I'm using the Acrotech panorama head. Of course, it just screws on with the 3/8, and then I'm all set there. So I'm going to use the level that's on the leveling base. It's really nice that it's built in. Of course, you know, you don't have to get the head with the tripod with a leveling base. You can get the tripod with either just a flat plate or a column, and then you can always put a leveling base on, and then your head. And of course, that's if you're shooting landscape. You might not need a leveling base. I find them to be really advantageous, and you can read about that in another video. The maximum load capacity on this tripod is 60 pounds. Now, I've taken my camera with the biggest lens that I have. I've even looked up if I was to be able to get a bigger lens, and how much weight would all that be. Of course, I'm never going to come close, to my own opinion, even close to anything like that. Like, I'm way under 10 pounds. So having a load capacity of 60 pounds is way beyond what I need. But then why would I use a tripod like this versus a tripod that is lighter and thinner? And some of that comes down to your use of the tripod and what your needs are. When I'm setting up my equipment and doing a really long exposure, so my exposure might be 10 minutes or 15 or 20 minute exposure, I need something that is very, very stable. Now, if you get a tripod that maybe has a weight capacity of 20 pounds or 25 pounds, and you put on even half the amount of weight, that tripod is just not going to be as sturdy as a tripod like this. So I have found that when I'm doing these really long exposures, or if I'm doing a focus shift image, which I'm going to do some experimenting with this tripod. I'm not sure how soon I'm going to be doing that, so don't tell me you're waiting for it, but I hope to do it soon. And when you're doing a pixel, it's actually called a pixel shift image, you need a very, very stable tripod. So the better the tripod in it being stable for my use is why I would take a tripod like this over a much smaller, thinner tripod. Yeah, it weighs 4 pounds compared to some that weigh half that weight, but they also have half the stability that a tripod like this will have. And there's nothing worse than getting back and plugging your card in, downloading your images, and seeing that they are just ever so soft because there was a little bit of a breeze and you just weren't able to keep everything 100% stable. So I would encourage you to look at this ProMediaGear tripod. It is just built like a tank, and I just feel that it is going to provide me with all the stability that I need when doing these long exposures as well as pixel shift images. Now, one thing that I found really neat is that when you pull this all the way out and you get down really close to the ground, now I'm going from the top of the leveling base down to the bottom of the leveling base, has a minimum height of 3.8 inches. Now, of course, after I put the head on it, that's going to add that amount of height. But it's not really the spec of the tripod. It's going to be the spec of the equipment that you're totally using, because you can always find a way to mount your tripod lower mount your camera onto your tripod head if you needed to, if the height of the head that you're using is just going to make your height too high. So definitely take a look at those specs to see what works for you. This looks like just a tank of a tripod that I'm really looking forward to putting through its paces. Once again, very smooth, very well built, and very solid. So I hope you've enjoyed this review of this ProMediaGear tripod as much as I have had touching this and really kind of going over all of the wonderful features of this tripod. Thanks again for joining me. I hope you'll give this video a like, and I look forward to seeing you in a new video again real soon. Bye for now.